Today we ask the question, does Amazon think the Irish are dumb? Okay, so recently, I'm sure if you are paying attention, or if you're in any way a watcher of TV, modern TV, and what's going on, current series, current movies, all that kind of stuff, then you will no doubt be aware that Amazon has recently released a show loosely based on J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings fantasy universe. This show has cost an absolute fortune, $1 billion or something crazy like that. It's absolutely staggering what they've spent on it, and there has been a lot of to and fro. I didn't watch it myself initially. Not that I'm a Tolkien fanboy or some kind of a Tolkien purist. I have read some of his works and enjoyed them. I think it's expertly written, and the world that he creates is a work of genius. Let's be frank about it. He really has had a lot of influence on certainly current culture. And you've know Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. Then there was the Hobbit movies, and having read the initial books, some of them in school. I don't know if they're still on the curriculum, but they were back then, or bits of them. It certainly, led you on to read more stuff. Now, as I said, I'm not a Tolkien scholar. I'm not a Tolkien purist, but I do like good movies. And I do like good shows. And I enjoyed the Peter Jackson trilogy. I have to say, I didn't see the Hobbit movies, but I did enjoy the trilogy. Fantastic movies if you haven't seen them. Now, this whole thing is leading me to this recent offering by Amazon, this expensive offering that they really invested huge amounts of money in. They had to buy the rights, or some rights, from the Tolkien estate. I don't believe they bought the rights to the actual Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit, or I think it was some offcuts that were on the floor, scraps of paper that he jotted down, bits of ideas, kind of preparation for other novels that he didn't write or didn't finish. I think Amazon bought kind of a box of that. They bought and paid a hefty sum for it too. So they bought essentially all the offcuts, or some offcuts and some clippings and some bits of scribbles that he had scribbled on the back of an envelope, and they were going to basically reinvent their own version. Essentially, they were just going to take complete and utter poetic license, artistic license, you might say, with Tolkien's name kind of bolted onto the side of it for the recognition thing. And of course the whole, they were going to basically ride on his coattails, or piggyback on the whole universe that he created. Now, in the run-up to this, of course, there was a lot of things floating about the Ethernet and the Twitter sphere about what they were doing in regards to the show, in regards to let's just say, this poetic license thing, reinventing characters, switching characters, taking out characters, putting in different characters in the same kind of role. As there was a lot of jiggery pokery going on, and that's when I took it in the context of most modern TV and most modern movies. And if you've watched some of my segments, you'll know, or you'll have heard me say, most modern TV and movies are absolute trash. They're rubbish. They're badly written. They've just slipped into the modern tropes of, strong woman, the overpowered Mary Sue female character who basically can beat up armies on her own. Then you've got obviously there's always some trans characters or gay characters. Not that that's wrong. If that's what the story needs, that's what the story should have. And that was the way, as I recall, back 100 years ago when I was young. If the story needed X, Y, or Z character, they were there. And if they didn't, They weren't there. That was the way it was. So when I started hearing that they were going to readapt this for the modern world, i.e., it was going to fall into every stereotype and trope that has plagued modern TV and modern movies, I just kind of was, that was me kind of, yeah, I was pretty much, nah, I won't bother. It's not for me. I don't think I'll like it. I just will give this one a miss. And as I give pretty much most current TV and movies, I give them a miss. They're just basically just formulaic now. And as I say, they're not that well written. And it seems like they're made to just tick boxes on a clipboard. Instead of just starting with a story and just putting in whatever that story needed as best your budget would allow. No, it's gone in a whole different direction, where they seem to start with a checklist of all the things that has to be shoehorned into the story, and what you end up with is a muddled, convoluted mess, in my opinion. If you want to watch good movies and really good TV, pretty much pre 2005, maybe 2010ish, it kind of drifted, and after 2015ish, it just went into the bowels, into the depths of crapology. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here, which is kind of a bit of a characteristic of this channel. The Lord of the Rings, yes. Why am I not the Lord of the Rings? Sorry, the Rings of Power. Why am I ragging on the Rings of Power, which, I'm going to do. Didn't do it yet, but I will do in a minute. It's because there was a thing floating around when it released, that some of the characters in it, the Harfoots, they're kind of a precursor to the Hobbits. I think that's the basic gist of it. The Harfoots kind of came before the Hobbits, because this Rings of Power is supposedly set in a pre-era for the Lord of the Rings. So that's how they kind of got round the whole Lord of the Rings thing, because they didn't buy the rights to that. So this is all that. This is a pre-dated story. So that gave them the license to pretty much dick around with all the characters that you know and love. These Harfoots, they're basically this kind of Hobbit-esque type characters. But they're all dirty and grimy, with twigs in their hair, and they're all unkempt, and they're not that bright, and they kind of, that's the kind of thing, character that these Harfoots were. But wouldn't you know it, they all had Irish accents. Okay, what's the big deal? Well, I mean, look, I'm all for humour, and I've no problem as an Irish person. I've heard all the Paddy Irishman jokes, the potato jokes, the whiskey jokes, the Darby O'Gill and the Little People. I've seen all those, and I know all those. I really don't care. It doesn't bother me. The days where you go to a comedy club or a comedy show, and there was Irishman jokes and Paddy Irishman jokes, but then there was also jokes about the English and jokes about the French, and there was jokes about tall people and short people and fat people, and people, Eskimos. They were all, blacks, whites, Asians. We all got it, and that was what was great. It wasn't like you go to a club and every joke's a Paddy Irishman joke. Well, that's where I kind of, that's where I, that's where you lose me there. So this whole thing of the Harfoots, be these unkempt, unwashed, blah blah blah, having Irish accents, started to kind of raise a few hackles, because it was seen as, well, are we going back to old stereotypes there? Because this has been a bit of a trope over the years. And let's have a quick look and see if we can find out a little bit more of what's going on, and if this is true, and if it's not, and did Amazon even know what was going on? Was it done purposely? Is this what Amazon thinks? Well, Amazon paid for the bloody thing, so we'll see. Anyway, let's hop on over here quickly to extra.ie. This is from Philip Downs. Same old stereotypes, says Philip. New Lord of the Rings series slammed over, quote, horrific Irish accents. Now, I did actually watch the first couple of the things really. I did watch, or I should say, I did suffer through the first 2 episodes just to see just to see what was going on. And yeah, they're pretty bad, guys. They're pretty bad. I mean, I'm used to seeing ropey Irish accents in TV movies. I think the vast majority of like Brad Pitt and all these guys, they do their best. In fairness, they do their best, but they don't have Butcher our accent. Honest to God. Right, Philip Downes. The new Lord of the Rings spin-off series has been slammed after portraying Irish accented characters as unwashed and simpletons. Are costing around $1 billion. I said that, $1 billion. The Amazon Prime series, The Rings of Power, is the most expensive TV series of all time. Well, they're not short of a few bob. They can afford it. A prequel to the fantasy movie series of the early 2000s, which was brilliant. Should watch that. Peter Jackson's trilogy. Staggering stuff. The series has largely won favourable reviews. The series has largely won favourable reviews from the critics. It hasn't really. It's won favourable reviews from the shill media. Amazon, as I said, has a lot of money, and there's a lot of people kind of want to stay on the right side of Amazon. So that's mostly where the praise came from. I think a lot of the viewers, me included, not that I've watched the whole series, we thought it was quite boring. And again, as I said, it was every stereotypical modern trope was just shoehorned in there. So no, I didn't like it. The only reason I watched it is for this. Anyway, let's go on. But viewers aren't impressed with one aspect of it: the Irish accents. In the new series, the Harfoot are a community of short, nomadic, pre-civilization people who are the forerunners of the Hobbits. See, I told you. However, unlike the Hobbits, they're grubby, dirty simpletons, complete with Irish accents that wander all over the country. There's Lenny Henry there. He's one of them. He's not Irish. I don't think there's any Irish people actually in this. So that's the thing. You wanted to have actual Irish accents, real ones, maybe get a few Irish people in, just a little pointer there. But what would I know? I don't make movies. Led by Lenny Henry's character, Sadok Burrows, the Harfoots are prone to saying things like, quote, "Put your back into it, lads." And the both of ye, this will not bode well. Nobody talks like that here. Nobody does. I never heard anybody talking like that. I hear it on TV, but I've never actually heard it in Ireland. Funny that. Fans were quick to take to social media to express their anger about the accents. Quote, "Why in the hell do the Hobbits in Lord of the Rings Prime have Irish accents? It's just weird," one user wrote on Twitter. The Twitter sphere. Another pointed out that the regal elves are all English, while the Harfoots and other lesser characters are either Irish or Scottish, writing, "The Rings of Power is good if you like horrific attempts at Scottish and Irish accents." The Scots get a bit of a bang of it too. What are they? They're the dwarves, are they? Yeah, the dwarves. And there's a lot of Scottish stereotypes rammed in there too. Seriously, who writes this stuff? People who don't really know what they're doing is who writes this stuff. Kids, adolescents who don't know what they're at and get paid a lot of money to not know what they're at, seemingly. Another pointed out that it's just more anti-Irish stereotypes from centuries ago. Writing, "Watching Rings of Power and seeing them give the Harfoots horrible Irish accents make them simple, covered in muck and twigs, and jolly, while making the High Elves regal with British accents." Sean O'Reilly on the Twitter sphere here. Sean O'Reilly, "Watching Rings of Power," this is Sean, quote here, "watching Rings of Power and seeing them give the Harfoots horrible Irish accents, make them simple, covered in muck and twigs." Yeah, we got that. That's all right, reading that twice. Okay, that's obviously from Sean O'Reilly there, and there's his actual tweet. Quote, "They paid $1 billion, which they did, to churn out the same old Irish stereotypes the Brits have pushed for centuries." And yes, that's true. If you go back a little bit to the old kind of British take on the Irish, Punch magazine and all these satirical magazines that they had, we were always depicted as dirty and grubby and a bit stupid, and just kind of, just kind of like the poor relation, that you kind of leave in the shed, that lives in the shed. that you let out occasionally. They really didn't. They had that view, the Victorians, and you go back a couple of centuries. That was the view they had of Ireland, that we were all just muck savages, essentially. Anyway, we'll continue. Ironically, the Harfoot's awful accents does fall in line with J.R.R. Tolkien's views on the Irish language. Having previously led, this is Tolkien here, I assume, a quote, "I go frequently to Ireland, Éire, as we were known, Southern Ireland, being fond of it and of its people." I don't know why most of is in there. Being fond of it and of its people. So he thought we were all right. "But the Irish language I find wholly unattractive," he said in a 1958 letter. That's from Tolkien himself. He's also spoken out against Celtic culture, saying Irish and Welsh mythology have bright colours, but are like a broken stained glass window, reassembled without design. So Tolkien, he didn't, according to this letter, if this is the truth, well, he didn't think a whole lot of our vast tapestry of mythology, and it is vast. This is from another Twitter sphere lad, Hayden Dale. Some creative moustache work there, Hayden. Why in the hell do the hobbits in The Lord of the Rings run prime? That must be its Twitter thingamajig. Have Irish accents. It's just weird. Okay. From Craig Hanton, The Rings of Power is good if you like horrific attempts at Scottish and Irish accents. Right, so people kind of clued into this pretty fast. And I only know it because I saw the kerfuffle. I saw the whole thing kicking off. Oh, good old Amazon. Got bogged down in the weeds there. Because this is it. Like Amazon, with a lot of corporations are trying to be so ultra woke that you could, if you play that game, they will come for you. They will come for you eventually. Yeah, Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, premiered on Amazon Prime. Yeah, I had to. You happy? Am I happy? I don't know. Is anybody happy? Yeah, so it did premiere. So basically, there you go. Yes, as I said, I have no problem with humour and comedy and jokes and making fun of people and whatever. And not, okay, look, you can't be precious about these things, but you can't on the one hand say, look, we're ultra woke, we're ultra modern, we're tuned in to not offending anyone, we're tuned in to not ragging on anyone, to not furthering or prolonging historic stereotypes of one way or another, and then you spend £1 billion to make a show that just promulgates the exact same stereotypes. I mean, you can't have it both ways, Amazon. So, can we get, I mean, this is the thing. Shake it up a bit. Be a bit creative. Don't just fall back on the lazy way, like the Irish. They're all unwashed and dirty and twigs in their hair and they've berry juice all over their mouth because they can't eat properly. Give them all Irish accents. That'll fit. Meanwhile, the English elves are all kind of reading poetry and doing very lofty and great things. Give them the elves are all grand, like the Prince of Wales. You know what I mean? Could we not shake that up a little bit, since we're supposed to live now in a world where there are no stereotypes? You can't stereotype people. You're the worst in the world if you stereotype anybody in any possible way. Yet we're just going to stereotype the Irish and the Scottish and the English and whatever else. Anyway, what do you think of that? I don't know. Look, to be honest, I didn't really get a whole lot invested in it. Didn't get worked up. I had to suffer through a couple of episodes to see if this was a thing. Did it lose any sleep over it? No, I didn't lose any sleep over it. I just shrugged my shoulders and said, look, that's just why I don't watch modern TV, because it's just lazy. It's formulaic. It's not getting away from stereotypes. It's just hammering home stereotypes. We need an evil character. All right, let's get a straight white man in there because that's always the evil guy. That's always the evil guy. We need a hero. Let's get a strong woman in there, possibly a gay character, or we need somebody who's upstanding, a rock, an absolute rock of virtue. Let's get a black character in there. I mean, it's just so tired now. That's all I've got to say on that matter. Lord of the Rings, the trilogy is that's go watch that if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, watch it again. It's great rewatching it. Great characters. It's very, very true to the actual novel. So great. Peter Jackson did a really great job. I don't know what budget he had, but he spent it well. This series here, the bit I've seen of it, the 2 episodes I've seen of it, £1 billion, $1 billion. And the best I can come up with is, there's some thickos. We need some ticks, some stupid characters. Let's slap some Irish accents there. That'll do grand. Job done. The check's in the post.